Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the latest update from DeepAgent, which is the MCP update to DeepSeek right here. So you can, not DeepSeek, to DeepAgent. Alright, so basically what you can do is you can connect to your MCPs an example DeepAgent, right? And basically this is the super agent inside here. Now we're also going to be comparing Suna versus DeepAgent versus Manus versus Genspark in a minute as well. But first of all, let's cover the new update from DeepAgent and connecting MCPs. So what you can see here, for example, is we've said inside the chat here, send an email with MCP to meet@juliangoldy.com as a test. We connected the Gmail, and then directly inside here, you can actually connect your MCPs and use the Gmail tool, which you can see right here using the JSON, to output that, right? And it was really, really easy and simple. I actually just set this up in like a couple of minutes. And the way that you can configure these really to be super powerful is using the Zapier MCP method, which I'll come on to in a minute. And basically this will allow you to connect like 5,000 different tools to your DeepAgent, and then your DeepAgent can connect its power with Zapier, and you can create absolutely awesome stuff. So this is pretty cool. I know a lot of people are excited about DeepAgent already because it is a very powerful AI super agent. It's not my personal favorite from my test so far, but we will be testing that later today to see which one is the best now that we've got MCPs on our side. And it's going to be very interesting. So if you want to configure your MCPs, let me show you how to do it. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go inside abacus.ai, and then from Abacus AI, you will select DeepAgent in the bottom left. So let me show you what I mean. So for example, if we go to DeepAgent.abacus.ai over here, once you've done that, then you're going to select DeepAgent in the bottom left. So you click Tools, click DeepAgent. This will take you to the DeepAgent. And basically, this is it's very similar to Manus, all these other tools. If you haven't come across this before, essentially what you can do is you can, for example, create reports, presentations. You can create apps directly inside here. But I would say by far the most powerful configuration here is using the MCP. So you can see here we've integrated our MCP server from Zapier, so mcp.zapier.com. Then I've put in the details of my SSE, and we've configured that and put it right in, right? Now the way that you would detail this JSON and the way that you put this in is you put like a squiggly bracket, then you need to put whatever MCP you want to set up. So I wanted to set up the Zapier_MCP. From there, we've set up the URL, and yeah, that's basically like a copy and paste. Now, for setting up the MCP server, I would recommend using Zapier. And the reason that I recommend using Zapier is because it gives you the most freedom, right? And what I mean by that is like, you've got MCPs for like Airbnb servers and stuff like that. And it's like, how often are you going to use that? You're going to use that every single day? Probably not, right? And so if you're using something like Zapier, we use Zapier integrations like all the time. Just to give you an example of what you can set up here. So we've connected this to WordPress, to ChatGPT, to Gmail. We have, for example, connected Facebook pages, Google Calendar, etc. And that just gives us much more freedom inside one single MCP. And so you've got the back end of like 5,000 different apps. You can add whatever tool or app you want inside here. And then you can connect that to DeepAgent. And with DeepAgent, you get the freedom to basically have a front-end chat that's configured to all these tools. Really simple and easy. And also with DeepAgent, it's got all those other integrations inside it, right? So for example, creating presentations, creating apps, coding, building out websites, building out games or tools or whatever you want, right? And also the DeepAgent can directly go off onto the web. It's very autonomous, right? So you've got the back-end power of Zapier combined with the front-end power of Abacus and DeepAgent. Now, when you're doing this, and bear in mind, like I wasn't impressed with DeepAgent the first time I used it, if you saw my other video about this, but I would say this is a lot better now, and it has improved dramatically with this feature, right? Now, you can include whatever you want. You don't have to use a Zapier MCP. You could, for example, use GitHub. You can see how to connect GitHub right here. You would just add your personal access token. You could add, for example, Google Tasks, insert the remote server MCP right there. But the main thing to note here is that you're configuring your MCPs to make your AI agent much more powerful. All right, so let me show you how to set up the MCP server for Zapier so that you can start using this. All right, so essentially you just go to new MCP server, then you're going to select a client. So for example, it could be Claude, Cursor, Windsurf, or other. So we could select other, for example, select the server details, create MCP server, right? And this is available at mcp.zapier.com. And then from here, you can start adding tools. So for example, let's say we want to connect this to Gmail. Well, we'll click on Gmail, we click on Find Email, and we'll plug that in right there. Right, nice and easy. Now, inside the configure section, if you go to the three dots, we can allow the AI to just figure and configure everything out. And what that means is, like, I could manually enter some details here for a specific value. I hate doing that on Zapier. I usually mess it up, and I'm not that pedantic and sort of technical in terms of setting this stuff up. But if I can get the AI to figure it out for me, well, that's going to save my, that's going to save me a lot of time, right? So for example, we had the Gmail tool right here, and then now we're going to configure that, right? Now, when you're configuring this, you'll get a server URL like so, and a WARF server URL, right? Like you can see. And so this is basically like a password. So you have to be careful with it, because if you're sharing it on a live stream like I am, obviously I'm going to have to delete both of these MCP servers afterwards. But I just wanted to show you how powerful this is. So for example, we copy this URL, then we're going to go back to the admin. We'll change the MCP URL like so, plug that in. All right, so we've got the Zapier MCP URL over here. We're good to go on that. Then we're going to plug that in. We'll hit update. That's going to update the record. You can see we've got configuration updated successfully. And then if we go back now inside DeepAgent, we can start using this to connect it to the MCPs. All right, so if we go inside here and we're like, right, okay, use the MCP server to find me emails sent from Julian Goldie. And we'll wait for that to load. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how much does this cost per month for DeepAgent? Let's have a look at the pricing over here. So if we go inside settings, from here we'll go to billing, and I'll show you how much it costs. So we spent $10 this month so far. So I think it's about $20 a month for this, something like that. You can see the credits and the credit usage over here. This is how much it costs. But yeah, it's about $20 a month, which is pretty affordable for most, let's be honest. Now you can see it's using the Zapier MCP tool to find emails, right? So it says searching emails from Julian Goldie using Zapier MCP. It's implementing that right now, and it's using its magic. Now you might be also wondering, okay, what are MCPs, etc., right? So let me talk you through the basics whilst we're waiting for that to load. So essentially, MCPs allow you to integrate different tools, external tools and data sources with your AI agent. So if you're using, for example, the MCP from DeepAgent and you're using that to connect to Zapier, then it's much easier to implement tools from other places, right? You don't need to give it any login details or anything like that. You just say, right, use this URL over here. So it makes everything easier. Now, this stands for Model Context Protocol. And basically what it's doing, it's just like a standard way of communicating between AI agents and the tools that you want to connect. So if you want to connect your Gmail to, for example, DeepAgent, then you would use the MCP to seamlessly do that, right? Like you can see. And you only need 3 things to set this up. Number 1 is a DeepAgent. Number 2 is the API keys. And number 3 is the MCP server. Now, you don't actually need to create your own MCP. So you can use, for example, Zapier or something like that. But there's actually a bunch of MCPs that are available publicly. So, for example, you can see a bunch of reference servers here that we could use. Like, for example, you could use Slack, or I was talking about it before, but Airbnb, GitHub, etc. Right? You can connect all of these with MCP servers. And it's quite easy to set these up. Like you can see, I've shown you exactly how to do that today. So here's an example configuration. You can get this in the help section of Abacus AI's website, but essentially that's how to set it up step by step. And then you can use these MCP tools inside DeepAgent. So you would just instruct the agent to use the MCP tool. That's the main thing. So for example, like let's put some example tasks, access this website, blah, blah, blah. It will display the call like I've shown you before, and then you view the tool output in the chat. So here's some examples, right? This is a really good thread by Bindu Reddy, who's showing like how to use DeepAgent with MCPs, like you can see. So here's an example. Basically, can you analyze the PR and MCP backend integration, what core changes were made, etc. And it's using the MCP repository to search GitHub, pull the comments, etc. And then it analyzes the PR for that in the backend, right? Pretty cool. Here's another example. So this is using Google Maps to plan out. So you can see basically what we're doing here is you can use the Google Maps MCP. These are the settings, etc. You just have to grab a Google Maps API key. You plug that in, and then you can say something like, find me the top rated coffee shops within a 1 mile radius of this area, then create an efficient walking tour to visit 3 of them. From there, it starts using its magic, uses the MCP to gather the data. So you can see here, for example, it's using the Google Maps MCP. And then you get the results right here, including the reviews, number of reviews, address, Google Maps link, and the website, plus all the details right here. So it's pretty cool. Like you can do a lot of cool stuff with this, but the main thing here is like you've got more freedom with DeepAgent and the autonomous AI agent side of that versus, you know, you could put this directly inside Claude, but if you want to use the Claude MCP, so if you want to connect Claude with, for example, Zapier tools and that sort of thing, then you have to pay for the max package, and that costs a fair amount. I think I pay like $200 a month, something like that, for the max package on MCPs. But you can see here, for example, we have PayPal integrated, and we also have Zapier integrated. Right, so you can do it directly inside Claude, but it's going to cost you a lot more money, and also it's going to be a lot more technical to set up. So let's just double check this works. If you go into a new chat here, we'll say, right, okay, use the MCP, find email from Zapier, find me the most recent email to me@juliangola.com, just the latest one. The only thing I don't like about this is the speed. Like, look how slow that is. That is very slow. I don't know whether it's because it's a beta version or something like that. That is one thing that I've found. For example, when we're using Genspark and that sort of thing, it seems to be a lot faster. So it says, before I proceed, please could you clarify? I'm going to say, right, use the MCP server I've configured. Email subject line, content is fine. And then it's retrieving the latest email from the MCP server. So it is definitely taking time. That's the only downfall I would say of this, is like it just takes a long time to get the results. And to be honest, when you're using Claude, like it seems a lot faster with MCPs. So for example, if I go inside Claude here and I'm like, right, okay, find, well, we'll do exactly the same prompt here. See if that works. So for example, if we go inside Claude, we're like, right, find the latest payment on my PayPal account, and Claude is breaking on me too. Look at that, internal server error. Okay, great. They've both crashed on me. But usually, I mean, you've probably seen my other videos on MCPs inside Claude. Like, Claude is usually better. I'm just going to go inside the settings here and figure out why that is. We'll try that one more time. But yeah, you get the point. That's how to set up MCPs inside DeepAgent. Tested it. Is a little bit slow, but it does give you a lot more freedom. I do like the idea of it. I just think it needs more time to get good results. But you can see the power of it. For example, like checking Google Maps, checking GitHub, etc. Stuff like that. Someone else is ChatGPT 5 happening. I think it's happening, but it will come later this year. You know, I don't think that's going to come out anytime soon. I think it'll be a few months before that comes out. Just going to delete the MCP servers on Zapier. So that's how to delete them as well. There you go. All right, so we're going to test DeepAgent versus Suna versus Genspark versus Manus and see which one is the best AI super agent based on a few tests. All right, so these are all different AI agents. You can see how they compare side by side today, and we'll just run a few test runs and see which one gets us the best results. So first test that I'm going to run is I'm going to run this prompt right here, which says research Julian Goldie and create an SEO agency website for him. So we'll run this into each AI agent, as you can see. And see which one gives us the best results and also which one is the fastest, right? So if you want to see an example of what we've built before previously with this, let me show you an example right here. So this is An example personal website built with Genspark. You can see it's got like personalized images of me, really nice headings, etc. The content was written nicely, and that was pretty easy to create. We just created it in like 1 or 2 prompts inside Genspark. So let's see how they perform today. One interesting thing here is like DeepAgent hasn't actually responded. Suna is researching, first of all. Manus seems to have made, Genspark seems to have made quite a lot of progress already. So it's already planned out the SEO agency website, and it seems to be already creating the site, like you can see. So it seems to be the fastest so far. Genspark, I'm going to say that's winning so far in the race. Manus is still doing the research. Suna is doing a web search now. It's found some interesting information here, for example, like notable achievements, who's in the team, additional offerings and what they sell, etc. So I like the UI and the breakdown of Suna is pretty nice, to be fair. And then DeepAgent came back to us. It took a few minutes and it's asked us, do you have any information about it, etc. So out of all of them, I would say, from what I can see so far, Genspark, Suna, and also Manus just went off and started building, which is great. Like that's what we want from an autonomous agent. Whereas, for example, DeepAgent has asked us a few questions first before we want to get the answers. So I'm going to say, okay, just figure it out yourself, just like, you know, Genspark and all the other tools did. Vish says, isn't ChatGPT also an AI agent? So ChatGPT is a kind of a form of an AI agent, but the problem with ChatGPT is it's not that autonomous, right? So it's not going to be able to, for example, like launch a website on a subdomain. If you want deep research, for example, then you're going to have to specifically click the buttons for it and everything like that. It's just a lot less autonomous, right? It's all sort of boxed in inside one platform. Whereas, for example, when you're using a super agent, for example, like Genspark, it'll go off onto the internet, it'll do the research for you, deep research. It's going to build out a website for you, like you can see right here, based on the research, and then it will actually deploy that on a subdomain, right? And so the difference here is like these AI agents, Genspark and Manus and all that, they're a lot more autonomous and they can just go off and do what you need to do. Whereas ChatGPT, it's going to ask you questions back and forth. It's not going to be able to do all those things in like one single prompt, and definitely won't be able to launch a subdomain for you as well. Now, interesting here. So Suna actually did the research, it planned the report, the research findings, etc. But it's not actually gone off and built the website, right? So it said, now that I've completed the research phase, I'll move on to planning the website structure and content, blah, blah, blah. It's created a file here, but it's not actually gone off and do it. So I'm just going to say, okay, do it, right? But again, you can see that it's not that autonomous. Whereas, for example, Genspark is coding out the page, right? It's literally gone from prompt to research to plan to building out the page and deploying it. So you can see how different they are in terms of the way that they've been built to be autonomous. Like Genspark is just going off and doing everything without any extra questions needed. Manus seems to be a lot slower. So you can see here it's actually still in the research phase, and it's taken 4 minutes to do that already. So it's browsing and having a look through the internet, but it's not that autonomous. And the same with DeepAgent, right? So it's still just going off and doing the research. It's got a lot of research, which is great, but in terms of speed, I would say Genspark is a lot faster. So it's very interesting to see them side by side and see which one can perform the best. Now, DeepAgent is already on to building out the website using Next.js, which is great. So it's actually going off and implementing that, which is awesome, right? So it's already implementing the website and that sort of thing. Whereas, for example, you can see here, Suna is just about to begin the website development, and Manus is still inside the research phase. So it's spending a lot of time on the research and kind of getting sidetracked right there, right? Now, let's open up, in the meantime, because that takes so long, let's try another prompt here, and we'll see what else you can do in the meantime on separate tabs, right? So, for example, we'll run an example prompt here. And I'm going to say design an AI growth calculator for Goldie Agency's website, right? And we'll do that on each now as well. So we've still got these running, and actually Genspark has already come back to us with what looks like a pretty cool landing page. And these tasks are running in the background. In the meantime, we'll try and run in another task, right? So you can see how you can build an army of AI agents working on multiple tabs in multiple different tasks at the same time, which is great. For example, if you had one executive assistant, they could only do one task at a time. And even then you would have to quality control it carefully, right? So let's test this out now. We're going to go inside all of these tools and run a different prompt. And this is for building out the AI growth calculator. All right, so we'll go inside Genspark as well, get it to do its magic, and see what we get back. Just make sure when you go on Abacus AI that you select DeepAgent in the bottom left. Otherwise, I get confused with this all the time, but otherwise it won't work, right? So we're going to head into like so. And here's the problem with DeepAgent on Abacus as well. So it says you already have a task running. Please wait for it to finish or stop it before starting a new one. So you can only do one task at a time, which kind of defeats the scalability of using an AI super agent, right? The whole point is that you can automate tasks and you have multiple tasks running in the background to save time. So that's one of the biggest issues here. I do like the MCP feature that they've got implemented. I think they have a lot of potential, but if you can only run one task at a time and you can't have multiple tabs, then that makes things difficult to scale, right? Let's have a look what we've got. So Genspark is like, yeah, okay. I'm just going to say, just create it on a subdomain and deploy it, etc. No worries about the credits, right? So Genspark actually gives you a warning if you're about to use a lot of credits. So it says, I'm happy to design that, but building it will require a HTML file with embedded JavaScript. This will take a bit more credits and time, etc., which is good. It's good that they give you a warning, right? Suna is still having a little cheeky think about it. So you can see it's on the 3 dots and it's just loading and buffering right there. And then Manus is gathering some information. So I would say in terms of the most scalable here and the fastest and also the best for like doing multiple tasks at a time, which is what you want from a super agent, Genspark and Manus are absolutely crushing it. Suna seems to be struggling. I don't know if it's got a limit, but it's not telling me. And then also DeepAgent cannot do 2 tasks at a time. Now, one thing you have to bear in mind here is that I think DeepAgent is only like $20 a month, right? Whereas, for example, Manus, I believe it's like maybe, let me have a look here. I believe it's something. Let's have a look how much the prices are in Manus. Yeah, I think the cheapest plan is $39 per month, right? So it's twice the price of DeepAgent, but you can do 2 tasks at a time. So let's now go back to our website task. This is the output from Genspark. You can see it's deployed on a subdomain, and you can see the page right here. It has hallucinated slightly, so I've not been featured by Google as far as I know. But you know, obviously YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, I mean, I have profiles on there. I wouldn't say I've been featured on them, but you get the point. Let's have a look, and we'll just click on that. So it asks us to book in a free strategy session. That's pretty cool. It's got a really nice footer on the website, a lot of information on the page as well. It's even included, for example, real testimonials from us. And also we've got images of my team members here, which is awesome too, right? With their LinkedIn profiles and email addresses as well, which is pretty cool. So, you know, if you look at the overall design of the website, it looks great. Like, probably looks better and loads faster than my actual website, which is great. But the only thing that I would just be careful of is this bit right here. But I mean, you know, it's the 80-20 of it is done, right? Even the buttons click, the links on the menu work perfectly. This looks better than my actual website, right? And literally all we did was say, research Julian Goldie and create an agency website for him, right? So I would say that's pretty much a 9 out of 10 in terms of performance there. The fact that it just launched on a subdomain, it included unique images about us, it used images in my book, etc. It looks awesome. It looks awesome. We can see the DeepAgent is still building out the website. The same with Suna. Manus as well is still on the research stage, so it's taking 11 minutes just to do the research. It's very, very slow. So in the same time that it takes to do the research, have a look through the internet, etc., right? Genspark has already gone off, created the website, deployed on a subdomain, boom, job done. Let's do the next one, right? That's the difference between these. So, I mean, honestly, if I'm going to give one of these a top performer, it's going to be Genspark. Like, it's absolutely crushed it. Then let's have a look at the current task. So this is the AI growth calculator. If we open this up, let's just check this actually works. So if we slide it here, this is looking really good from Genspark. Pretty nice right there. It also has a link to book in a free AI strategy session. It has information about us, etc. Links to us. It's research information about us. Job done, right? If we have a look at Manus is still, again, gathering branding information, right? So, I mean, this might take 5 to 10 times as long as Genspark to do the same task. And that's one of the biggest sort of problems with Manus. If we have a look at Suna, so Suna is still stuck on the planning stage. That's all it's done so far in the time that Genspark actually created the page, did the research and deployed it. And then if we come on to DeepAgent actually refused to do a second task until the first one is done, right? So I would rate them in this order. I would say that I mean, I can't really say because I haven't got the outputs from any of the tasks I've given to any of these tools yet. But I would say if I had to pick one, it's got to be Genspark, right? Genspark is just, it's goated. It's goated. You can't beat that, right? Sporters. I don't know if you've created a really difficult name to read out there, Sporters. But Sporters says that was a 10 from Genspark, much better than what I've gotten from it. So, you know, Genspark is an absolute goat when it comes to building out stuff. If you want to see my full course and tutorial on it, like, check out this, right? So we've got a full video right here, but basically you can see some of the crazy stuff that we've built out with it. It's amazing how good this is compared to the rest of the market, right? So for example, here we have this game in 3D that we actually built out. You can see it's working beautifully. We have this content generator, looks really nice website right there. AI growth calculator, little quiz we created, keyword runner game. I translated my whole website into French and even created this 3D runner game as well, which looks really cool. And then, yeah, it's just absolutely awesome, Genspark. Manus I typically find to be like second best, and it was kind of like the first mover in the whole market. Like, Manus was the first one to come out with an AI super agent, and it is good, but it's just Genspark. I think they came out and they created something that does the same thing, but maybe in like 10% of the time, right? Like way faster. You can see here that it's still gathering branded information. Suna has struggled. So you can see here, it says, I see there was a small issue with the command. Let's try the correct path. It's struggling, right? So you've got two different errors at the bottom right here. So it's still not done anything. DeepAgent obviously refused to do two at the same time. Let's have a look what we got back from each of these right now. So you can see here the application is still being set up right here. We don't seem to be able to look at it yet, but I think that's very close. We've got the website development from Suna gradually being developed, and Manus is still researching. It's taken 15 minutes just to research me before it even creates anything. Like, how am I going to get anything done? So Miled says, can you tell me which AI tool is the smartest and best to create a web app long term? So, I mean, if you want an AI super agent for doing this, again, I think I've shown you already today that Genspark is the GOAT. However, if you want one that can just, you know, create it directly, I would recommend Gemini. Gemini is really, really good. So, for example, if you want to code apps directly, go inside Gemini, use 2.5 Pro, like you can see right here, and then, you know, you can say, okay, create a drawing app. Make sure you select canvas right there, then hit enter. And I would say that's probably the fastest way of creating apps that actually work and can be deployed. So you get the code right here, and then the code is ready to be deployed inside Netlify or whatever you want to use to host it, right? And yeah, I think Gemini 2.5 Pro is just outrageously good and very easy for creating apps. Also, you can use Firebase Studio, which is also free, right? And that uses Gemini 2.5 Pro, plus it's more designed for building out apps. So for example, if you go over to Firebase Studio over here, click get started, type in whatever app you want. So for example, like a expense tracker app in Orange. You hit enter, and what it's going to do with the prototype is give you like a briefing document of like the colors used, the name of the app, what it's going to do, the features, etc. And then from there, in just a few minutes, you'll be able to get it deployed. So you can see here we've got the orange ledger, here's the features, here's the style guidelines, prototype the app, boom shakalaka, it's going to start building it out, right? Really, really easy to do. So let's come back and see where we're up to in terms of deploying this. So this is the website from DeepAgent, which is actually not bad at all. If we click on deploy over here, I'm just going to put a test domain. We'll click on that and see what it looks like. And we'll compare it side by side versus Genspark. So this is the Genspark output. This is the output from DeepAgent. Honestly, like I don't mind the output from DeepAgent. Honestly, I've seen much worse. But if we compare them side by side, like which one would you pick, right? You're probably going to go with Genspark. Let me show you what I mean. All right, so if we compare these side by side, which one looks better and more customized? This one. Okay, if we scroll down now, which one is using better images and has more detail? It's going to be this one, right? Obviously. And then also, if we scroll down here, we have a look at the testimonials. Let's compare the testimonials side by side, right? So this is Genspark, this is DeepAgent, and you can see Genspark's outputs in terms of design, the images used, the UI, etc. It's a lot nicer on Genspark. So you can see a huge difference right here. Let's have a look now as well versus something like Suna. Suna is still struggling. Manus is still doing the research. It's gonna, you know, if you're willing to wait a lot longer, then maybe you would get better outputs, but it's very hard to tell you that because we haven't got the outputs yet from any of these tools apart from DeepAgent. So there you go. Genspark is the GOAT. It is the winner. It is the best AI super agent from what we've seen so far. This stuff gets updated all the time. So to be honest, like it could totally change, you know, give it a week, even like one update can change all these tools. The other thing that I do like with Genspark as well is that it has a lot more functionality than these other tools. So for example, like it's got this whole image generation section. You can also, for example, use lead generation. I actually created a video on this yesterday, but essentially you can use this to go off, scrape the web, tell it what type of leads you want to contact, and then it'll create like a beautiful AI sheet. It's also awesome for creating presentations. And by the way, I'm not using affiliate links or anything like that. Like, I just want to show you which one is the best, right? And which one has impressed me the most. I think you know that I have a passion for this stuff, so it's interesting, and it's very interesting to compare like side by side which one is the best. Finally, the other cool thing here is they have this agentic fact checker, right? So you can actually use this to check hallucinated stuff. And additionally, you have this call for me feature, right? So you can verify your verify your phone number, and then you can make outbound calls to reserve, for example, like a restaurant for tonight or whatever you want, right? So you can see here, The prompt was book a table for 2 people at 6 p.m. next Wednesday, preferably table by the window. Needs some preparation for a birthday celebration. Boom shakalaka, it went off, transcripted the whole call, and then you've got the call recording right here, right? Name me another AI agent that can do that for you like this. Very, very rare to come across. So that's the sort of stuff we're looking at. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to get access to all my best prompts, etc., link in the comments description to the AI Profit Boardroom. It's my community on making money and saving time with AI. Also comes with like weekly Q&As. And additionally, if you want to get a free one-to-one SEO strategy session that shows you how to get more free leads, customers, and sales by ranking inside AI search engines such as ChatGPT, Google, ranking inside, for example, Gemini. If you want to learn how to do that, or if you want us to implement it for you for your business, feel free to book in a free SEO strategy session, and link in the comments and the description to do that. This is based on what's working for us and our happy clients, like you can see right here. And additionally, you know, you can jump on that call, book it in, ask any questions you have. It's completely free, no strings attached. Although a lot of people do become clients afterwards, you don't have to, right? There's no obligation right here. So thanks so much for watching, appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one, peeps. Cheers, bye bye.